Conor Coventry has signed for Charlton Athletic on a permanent transfer. Meanwhile, Gideon Kodue has joined up with Wycome Wanderers on loan for the remainder of the season. Ben Johnson is wanted by Southampton and Leeds United. PSG are interested in Nayef Aguerd, and there's been a lot of players linked to West Ham in the last 24 hours. Now, transfer rumours, as we know, 99% of it is just rubbish. It's just speculation. But I quite enjoy it, and I'm able to enjoy it because I don't believe most of the rumours. I discuss it hypothetically in a make-believe world with my friends. I enjoy doing it. It's a good discussion point. And I would argue that you've got some interest in transfer rumours, hence you're watching this video. It's quite obvious it's a transfer rumour show, and you've clicked on it, so you must have some interest in it. But whenever you see one, you have a natural reaction. And sometimes you'll get linked to a player and you think, wow, I'd love to see him at West Ham. You're a fan of that player. You love to see him at your team. And Mohamed Kudus was one of those. In the summer, I seen us linked to him. I thought, if we could pull that off, that would be fantastic. It would be a superb bit of business for us. Sometimes you'll see a transfer rumour and you think, no chance. Sometimes you'll see a transfer rumour and think, well, why would we even be interested? You just pretend it's real for a handful of seconds and your reaction is, that just wouldn't make sense. And I had that reaction, all three of them, for the same transfer rumour last night, and that was that West Ham wants Sporting's Marcus Edwards. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's an excellent player. Now, I don't watch him week in, week out, obviously. I've only seen Sporting a handful of times this season and a handful of times last season. But it's enough to know that Marcus Edwards is a bloody good player. But when I seen it and I thought, hey, that'd be a good sign, I thought, well, it would also be a silly signing. Why would we sign Edwards, who's a right winger, left-footed right winger, when we've got Kudus and Bowen? Why would we need a third one? I don't believe it whatsoever. But then that's when the penny sort of dropped for me, which was, well, it wouldn't be to play alongside Bowen. It wouldn't be to play alongside Kudus. It would be to replace Bowen or Kudus. And obviously, I thought, well, I don't want that. I don't want Bowen or Kudus going. But once I sort of thought about it, I thought, do you know what? This is excellent. If this is true, and I'm probably putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 8 here. But I would assume, should this rumour be true, it is in case we sell one of Kudus or Jarrod Bowen. Now, I don't like the idea of selling one of them, and I hope we don't sell one of them. I'd like them both to be here next season. But given that how good they're both performing this season, the interest in them from Champions League clubs would be there. It would be a natural thing to do. If Liverpool sold Mo Salah, they'd be stupid not to look at West Ham, at Bowen and Kudus and try and get one of them in as a replacement. It would be a good bit of business from Liverpool. And I think to plan for that would be a very, very wise move from West Ham. Like I said, I don't like the idea of selling one of them. But for years, I've complained at lack of succession planning, that when we sell a player, and sometimes it's almost a surprise, we struggle to have a replacement. And it's a bit, you think, well, why have you authorised that sale? We sold Sebastian Haller. Now, he had to go, but we had nobody lined up. Or the ones that we did want, we had no chance of getting. And as a result, we went 18 months until Scamacca rocked up at the club. Even then, we sold Scamacca and brought nobody in to be the striker. And now, I do think that one was different, because I think the plan was to move Bowen as striker. So I think there was a plan there, but not in regards to replacing Scamacca directly. I think it was to bring in Kudus and move Bowen up. So I think there was some planning going on there on that aspect. But time and time again, we have sold players, and there's been a period where we've not really replaced them. So if we've actually got someone lined up, or we've identified someone that we want to replace Kudus or Bowen, should they go in the summer, then good, about damn time as well. And I think it'd be an excellent signing and a really good replacement for one of those. And that's the calibre of player we would need to bring in order to replace them as well. Because should, say, Ben Johnson leave in the summer, the player we need to bring in to replace him wouldn't be as demanding as what we'd need from Kudus or Bowen. If one of them left, we'd need someone to come in, hit the ground running, and be able to perform a really high level, really consistently, and add goals and assists to our team. Now, Edwards isn't as prolific as Bowen or Kudus, but he's still a really, really good player. But anyway, that was my thoughts. The transfer rumour is that we are interested in Marcus Edwards. The sporting side of it is that he's not for sale, that if you did want him in the January transfer window, you've got to pay €60 million. That's his release clause in his contract. The club have promised Ruben Amorim that no players will be sold unless they meet the release clause, and there's nothing the club can do about it. So that dismisses the transfer rumour for January. But I do just wonder if there is a bit of merit in it, and it's with an eye on potentially one of those players going in the summer, and Edwards would be the replacement. And I think it would be a very, very good replacement as well. You'd imagine he'd cost less, because 60 million euros is his release clause. You'd imagine you get more than that for Kudus or Bowen if you sold them. And also, he's homegrown as well, so he ticks that box too. So there's a lot to like about him. But I think if we do get him, it means that one of those two have gone. Anyway, before we go any further, please do subscribe. We hit 36,000 the other day, so thank you very much. Drop a like on the video if you're enjoying it so far by clicking the thumbs up. And also, I just want to quickly point you in direction of our Patreon, which is patreon.com/hammerchat. Links in the description below. We create a lot more videos over there. Player ratings, do a podcast with Anton Ferdinand every fortnight, roughly. We've got plenty of content over there. But even if you're a current patron, this bit's for you. We've got a competition running until Monday afternoon to get a signed and personalised shirt by Jared Bowen to you. One patron will win it. You can ask Bowen to write whatever you want on it within reason. So say your name was Bob. Bowen would write to Bob, come on you irons, Jared Bowen. I don't know, whatever you want him to write, Bowen will write it. So that competition's running until 2 PM on Monday. So if you join up today, you can enter that. So it's from £3.60 per month, less than £1 a week. Supports the channel, and you get extra videos as well as a few perks. Online store discount in case you want a signed Tony Gale book. We sell signed Tony Gale books in case you didn't know. Anyway, back to transfer rumours. Right then, I imagine transfer speculation can sometimes be unsettling for players, managers and clubs. It can probably be quite frustrating for them as well. But there are certainly plenty players, managers, clubs and especially football agents that use the transfer rumour mill to their advantage, that they actually use it in order to get out of a club, to gain interest in a player, to get a player out of a club or into a club, whatever. They use it to their advantage. And I think, and I've felt this for a couple of weeks now, that that's what West Ham are doing in relation to Nayef Aguerd and Said Benrahma, that we've used that in order to effectively put those two players on the transfer list without actually putting them on the transfer list, to make it publicly known that we're open to offers on these players. These two players, we're willing to listen to offers, because that's this sort of unofficial, official line that we'll sell them for the right price. Basically, it's alerting the footballing world. They're available if you want them. So Said Benrahma's possibly going off to France or Saudi. He's been linked to Fulham and Brentford as well. But the Nayef Aguerd one, the big rumour yesterday was that PSG are interested in him, and the price tag's 30 million quid. And he's someone that you could see going. Ex-West Ham employee did an update on the West Ham Way Patreon earlier in the week, and it was that the club were a little bit disappointed in Aguerd and felt he could have done more to be available during the festive period. He had the cold, he was sick, and he didn't come back, and then off to African nations he went, and the club feel he could have perhaps been a bit more committed and made himself available for first team action. Not only that, the club feel he's error prone and someone that they perhaps feel they could replace or use the money better. So the club are looking to get their money back. 30 million is the price tag. PSG as well as a couple of Saudi clubs are interested in him. Now I think he's a really good defender. It took a while for us to see him because of that injury at Ibrox. When he came back in, I thought he was fantastic. I was like, hello. In possession, I think he's one of the best I've seen. At West Ham, he's got the pace. There's lots of things to like about him. But I do agree with that line, that phrase, error prone. I do think he has a mistake in him, and it feels like it's almost one big one every single game. He just doesn't always get punished for it. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. I think Zuma's better than Aguerd. I think Zuma's our best centre-back. But a large part of that is because of how we play and how we utilise the player's strengths and maybe expose their weaknesses sometimes. Because any defender that's asked to defend as much as we do in some games, you're probably going to make a mistake at some point because there's such a big demand on you. Law of averages almost. And that's why when I saw Aguerd linked to Liverpool previously, I think, you know what? He'd probably benefit from going and playing in a side like Liverpool where the centre-backs, well, Van Dijk's a bit of a quarterback for them, isn't he? Higher up the pitch so he can use his pace, which is one of his main assets, which we can't always utilise at West Ham because we don't always play a high line because the other centre-back in Zuma gets exposed with it. So I do think a move away from Aguerd would possibly be the right thing for him. But this is where I think a lack of clarity or lack of decision on David Moyes' contract and future is going to become a bit of an issue in this window in regards to Nayef Aguerd. Because if we were going to change manager for next season, then I'd like to keep Aguerd. If we were going to go get a more progressive manager, a manager that plays that higher line of defence, Aguerd might benefit from that. And we'd probably need a centre-back like Aguerd. But if they were intending on giving Moyes a contract extension, then I think selling him would be the best thing to do. I think he's a good player, and I'd be disappointed it hasn't worked out and disappointed that we have to sell him, but I wouldn't be disappointed to see him move on, if that makes sense. It's just a case of who do we get in. Well, we're linked to Kilman of Wolves. I'm a big fan of Kilman. I have been for quite some time. I think he was rubbish last season. I think he struggled last year. But I think Collins also struggled, and I think as a pairing, I don't think they were great. Since Collins has gone to Brentford, he's struggled at Brentford, but Kilman's sort of back to his best, if you like. Got the captain's armband from Gary O'Neill as well. The price tag for him is 40 million, and I think he's worth it. Again, another homegrown left-sided centre-back too. Really comfortable in possession of the ball. And I think he's possibly just as good a defender as Aguerd in that aspect. And I think he would suit us more. But this is the whole conundrum. Well, who's the manager next season? Because Kilman might not suit that new manager. So I don't think we can. I don't think we should be doing big changes to our defence without deciding what to do. Now, of course, the board at West Ham today probably know what's going to happen with David Moyes. I'd imagine Steidten, Noble, Brady, Sullivan, anyone else, they probably know the likelihood of David Moyes being here next season or not. So they're in a greater position. Whereas we as fans can only gather what we hear and see and make up our own minds and guess what we think is going to happen. But Kilman would be a big yes for me. If we got him in, I'd be really happy with him. It's pricey. 40 million is a lot for a centre-back. But we're going to need that. I know people don't like me going on about the homegrown quota, but it's something we do have to pay a lot of attention to. I know Conor Coventry's gone. He doesn't really impact it that much in that sense. It is a homegrown player we've lost, but we weren't using him, so it's not like we need to replace Conor Coventry. So it's not. I'm not too fussed about it. But on Conor Coventry, good luck to him. Hope it works out. I think he's 24 now. He's been at West Ham for too long, really. He should have probably left a couple of years ago. I think he would have left last summer if we didn't have European football. But because in that European football, 4 of your homegrown players have to come through your own club, and we only have 3, Anang, Ben Johnson and Conor Coventry, they were sort of stuck, really. We couldn't afford to let them go in case we needed them. Now, I think the club did the right thing, being selfish in that regards, keeping Johnson, Coventry for the start of the season, because we could have played them in the group stages, and had we navigated the group a bit better and the matchday 6 was a pointless one again, as it has been in previous 2 seasons, I'd imagine we would have seen Conor Coventry in it. But now we're in the knockout stages, there's no chance Conor Coventry is going to be playing a European game for us, so the requirement to keep him around for admin reasons is no longer there. So best of luck to him. I've seen the price tag of $1 million. It's never going to be $1 million. Charlton are a mid-table League One side. They're not paying £1 million for anybody. I'd imagine it's quite a low. I'd be surprised we've got much money, to be honest with you. But I think it'll be incentive heavy. A bit like what Ekwa was when he went to Sunderland, which is we'll cash in if you sell him. I think something similar might be in place for Conor Coventry. But best of luck to him. Another centre-back we were linked to was Chalobah of Chelsea. Somebody that feels like he's available. The noise from Chelsea quite consistently has been that they are willing to loan him or potentially even sell him, just like Ian Maatsen, and he has gone out on loan to Dortmund, so perhaps Chalobah is readily available today. It'd be a move I'd like to see us go for regardless. Even if we don't sell Aguerd, if we can loan him in, I think it would be a wise thing to do, especially if we can put an option to buy in that contract to protect us, unlike the Jesse Lingard loan deal, so that in the summer Moyes / new manager, whoever, can decide if they want Chalobah as part of the squad next season, that we could sell Aguerd in the summer if they gave Moyes a contract extension, and we've already got his replacement at the club. So this is a deal I would love to see happen. Ben Johnson's been linked to Leeds United and Southampton. We can't let him go. No chance. None. We cannot let Ben Johnson go. We should be in a position where we can let Ben Johnson go, but we're not. I just don't. Unless we bring in a right back, we can't afford him to go, because who is to cover Soufal, who has had some injury issues, has played a ridiculous amount of minutes in the first half of the season. We need a replacement for him. I know Mavropanos has played right back previously, but I've yet to see him do it for West Ham, so I don't have an opinion on him as a right back. And second of all, because Kerr's gone, we don't really have enough centre backs. We're now down to 4 senior centre backs, so we can't afford to use Mavropanos as a right back. Ben Johnson can't go; he has to stay. I appreciate the club are possibly in a difficult position in the sense that we could maybe get a small fee for Johnson today. His contract runs up in the summer. Tough. I think you've just got to waive that. The amount of money we'd get, a couple of million quid maybe, I think the club unfortunately just have to write this off. There is some talk they're going to still negotiate with him, but I also think his last 2 or 3 performances for us, he's been fine. He's done all right actually. So no, we can't let Ben Johnson leave. We'd be stupid. We're already sort of lacking squad depth, and we're lacking players that Moyes will use. And Ben Johnson, for a large period of the time, was someone Moyes wouldn't utilise. Well, actually, in the last few games now, we've seen Ben Johnson come back into the team. So Ben Johnson, in my opinion, has to stay. And that is it for the transfer rumours. That's everything ticked off, I think. Yes, it is. I've done everything. Lastly, Gideon Kodue has gone off to Wycombe on loan for the remainder of the season. Mubama and Marshall both want a loan move as well, apparently, according to ex-West Ham employee. But Kodue has joined Wycombe. Scored against Wycombe on Tuesday, joined Wycombe on Friday. But best of luck to him. He's someone I hope smashes it. He sort of goes under the radar a little bit, doesn't get the plaudits that Mubama and Marshall do, and it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. I think this is a good test for him. I think it's a good side to go to. They're playing Freddie Potts, so they are willing to play our players that we send them on loan. You'll have Freddie Potts there. Unlike Freddie, he doesn't have the benefit of time to settle in. He's got to hit the ground running because there's only 4 months left of the season. So you can't really take 2 or 3 months to get used to your new teammates and your new surroundings. You have to go in and hit it like that. And that's the problem with us buying in January as well. But I'll be keeping an eye out for him, actually. There's a Wycombe fan to speak to about Freddie Potts, because months ago I contacted him in regards to a video and it never occurred. But we've kept in touch briefly, maybe once a month, nothing too fancy. And he's raving about Potts, and he's messaged me today about Kodue, asking what I think of Kodue. So I'll keep you up to date on how he gets on at Wycombe. But that's it for the Transfer Rumours Show. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it, subscribe to Hammers Chat, and if you fancy supporting the channel, go to patreon.com/Hammers Chat. The link's in the description. I'll put it in the pinned comments as well. And thank you to anybody who does join up in part with the hard earned to support this channel. Much appreciated. Catch you in a bit.